let me unmute myself before I say, hey, what's up, folks? How is everybody doing out there this Tuesday afternoon? That's where we're at. It's been one of those days, folks. It's been very busy, but as you guys know I got a busy schedule ahead of me moving into September. So I'm going to go ahead and back up the chat a little bit and say hello to some of you folks that have been hanging out here for a bit. I want to say thank you for the support. All right. Let's see what we got. We got Florida Man. Good afternoon to you as well. McBean Scottish Fitness swinging in to hit the thumbs up button. Truly appreciate that. Michelle. Yeah, Michelle, I was reading about that. Was it yesterday or today? I think it's Texas, New York, and Michigan with a huge power outage. Just Michigan being affected the worst, up to 100,000 people without power. This is why we prep. What's up, Rice-A-Roni? Good to see you. Never done prepping. Hello, coffee first and then speak. Never done. Who else do we got? Daisy's in the house. We got Jessica Garcia. We got Snakebite. What's up? Butch Graves. JT. Good to see you as always. Let me see. Nancy Tharp. Good evening to you as well. Who else do we got? Scrolling on down. Let me see. Chris Marie. Hello. Linda Bob. Good to see you. Glad you made it as well. All right, scroll. Here we go. Yarn Prepper, good to see you. How's Wisconsin doing? Is it starting to get cooler up there? Because Florida is still remaining hot, very hot. What's up, Rena LaRue? Listening while I'm canning and dehydrating potatoes. That's awesome. And then making dinner. That's so great to hear. All right, and glad you could join us. Dottie, good to see you. Pony Girl. Let me see who else we got. We got Prepping Survival. Hello. Let me see. Pilgrim Prepper, what is up? Still scrolling. All right, we got Kaylin, Robert Bates, Don't You Know, TN Prepping Lady, Little Lone Prepper, Quest Conquest, A Stone, Lucy Marion, good to see you. Greetings. All the way from Utah. Nice. Blue Vandal, hello. Let me see. Yoshi's mom. Did I get you, Vicky? Vicky Jordan, Libby Lauderdale. Quest, good to see you. Let me see, Patty. Let me see if I missed anybody. Back up. Queekney, good to see you. Lori in Oklahoma. Harvey Black, good to see you as well. Mander's Tattoo, hello. John Jones. Let me see. I'm going to look, make sure I didn't miss anybody. I think I got most folks that are here. Patty, I see Patty as well. Mike Stiles. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I truly do. So basically, what can gardening do for you is going to be the basis for our topic this evening. And it's because I wanted to talk and kind of play off the video that I did on Monday, which a lot of you folks seem to enjoy. It seemed to make the YouTubes happy with the algorithm as well. What's up, Rocka? K. Paul? B. Walker, good to see you. Yeah, the notifications are going to still be rough for quite some time. Over the next few months, as I redo my YouTube, as I told you folks that I'm doing, that might actually get a little bit better, being that the type of content that I'm producing and whatnot. And actually, folks, I actually put out a kind of an outline together for myself in regards to what I'm going to be talking about, so I can try to stay on task, as they say, which is always a fun thing to do. But I'm pretty sure I'll get sidetracked. But that's how live streams are, right? And you know, the biggest thing about gardening, Snakebite, the size shirt. What's up, Prepping by Faith? Good to hear from you. Pepper Prepper, good to see you. Snakebite, I always tell folks at least a 3X because usually they shrink down to 2X. Most shirts shrink. I'm a big guy, and I like my shirts to even fit kind of loose because I usually wear I wear armor. And what I mean that I wear soft armor during my normal daily life, and then of course I'm not going to wear a vest or something crazy out there like that. Unless I'm doing some sort of, training or whatnot. So I usually buy my shirts big. I've even got a couple 4Xs through Grunt Style that fit really good, even where I had the vest and then an undershirt with that as well. I'm just a layer kind of person, and that kind of goes to my prepper mindset and the fact that if I have layers with me and things go sideways, I have additional clothing on my persons. What's up, Akita Love? Peggle Prepper? Or Peg Leg Prepper. Every time I see your name, Peg Leg, I always think of Peggle, this game that I used to play a long time ago with my kids. What's up, Sherry? Big Dog. Just want to make sure I didn't miss Infrared Survival. What is up? A lot of you awesome folks in here. I just want to back it up a little bit to see if I missed anybody. I'm trying to keep on track of everybody that's coming in the chat. So, and the reason I wanted to talk about this is a lot of people, when we talk about gardening in general, which to me is something that most folks should be doing. But gardening goes beyond just, for additional food and a healthy lifestyle. There's so much more to gardening that some folks may not put it all together, and how beneficial it is to them, not only from growing your own food, but also for your immune system, for your mental mindset, and so on and so forth. So I want to go over a little bit that this evening. What's up, America First? Lucy Marion, Shawnee, good to see you as well. What did you say, Shawnee? Yes, and Shawnee, that's absolutely right in regards to the little ones. And we're going to get into that. We're going to touch into a little couple odds and ends with that as well. But gardening is good for the entire family. I'm going to try to make this bigger so that I can read it better because, I'm getting old, folks. And, it's funny. The wife's like, she says, you've changed things up on your live streams. I'm like, yeah, I said, most likely I won't get as much views, but the information will be a lot more important than me talking about political content. You know what I mean? But I don't mind because the people that are here to learn something. The people that are here are the core subscribers of the Grey community. And to me, that's what truly counts. All right, but so I have here, it says gardening can be a solo activity, which some people do. Sometimes I'm running in the garden solo, but more so of a family activity. And basically, when you're out there gardening with your children, so let's say you have young children or teenage children or even the older children, depending on what age you are, if you're a grandparent or parent, it's also like this bonding thing for them. It's also teaching them skill sets. So not only do you get to bond with family members and enjoy, teaching them skills, but you get to have conversations because life is slowed down just a little bit more than it is in the fast-paced life of the mainstream world per se, right? So you get to bond with your children. You get to have conversations with them. You get to pique their curiosity and have these intriguing conversations, not only about what you're doing, but maybe what's happening at school, what's going on in their day, things that they may be feeling. So it opens up a possibility for dialogue that you normally wouldn't have because the kids are usually stuck into a gaming system or stuck into a phone, and the list goes on. They have their minds elsewhere. But if they know that Sunday afternoon or whatever day or every other day that they're going to spend time with mom or dad or the entire family out in the garden, to me, that's very special. Memories will be made in that situation. And also the fact that you're going to be teaching them a skill early on is going to benefit them moving forward within situations like we have today with, food crises and shortages and cost of foods and stuff like that. It all kind of wraps into something as a teachable scenario, right? Suen, thank you. I appreciate that. Van Vita Travels, good to see you as well. My 4-year-old Grand already likes picking veggies with my daughter. They made fridge pickles, and Grand loves to spin the compost tumbler. That's awesome, Yarn. What's up, Lori in Oklahoma? Says when my girls were little, I let them each have their own garden, and they loved it. What's up, Teresa D? And that's what's special is for you, Lori, that's going to be something that you will cherish to your last breath. You know what I mean? And it's something that the children are always going to look back on. I wanted to look at something else here that I have for you. Outside of the happiness, outside of the stress relief that you can share with your loved ones, gardening also has special benefits for not only just us, but for the children. And what I mean by that is early exposure to dirt has been linked to numerous health benefits from reducing allergies to autoimmune diseases. So with your kids getting into that dirt, getting their hands dirty, along with yourself, it's truly beneficial. And I'm also going to talk about the health benefits to you in my age group and older, and kind of all the way along the whole spectrum. Carlo Adventures in Survival, good to see you. Shawnee. Today we learned about harvesting sunflower seeds. I love growing sunflowers. They're such beautiful plants. And I love, I usually do the Goliath version of them because they get so big. But even the small sunflowers are very cool to watch. Marsh Mama says, my 3-year-old grandson gets so excited when the baby plants start coming up. It's that cycle, you know what I mean? To put a seed into the ground and to watch that seed evolve into a plant when it gets its first leaves, and then it loses those leaves and it starts to bloom and get flowers and then grows fruit or vegetables or whatever that you happen to be growing. And then taking that fruit and harvesting it, and the whole process from A to B, from the fertilizing to the soil mixtures and to all that stuff like that. Some of this stuff will slowly start to adhere to their brains and become part of them. And then taking that food and then bring it into the house and cooking up breakfast or something with it. To me, that's just like that. It's just an awesome story from basically from when you start to your finish. But one thing I wanted to share with you in some statistics, it says 30% less chance of suffering from a heart attack or a stroke in people in the same age group who don't garden. So what I mean by that is a lot of the elderly folks that do gardening, that, get out there, they're 60 years or above. They've done some studies on this, and it shows that they did two different studies. People who read books, which I love reading as well, and people who did gardening. And they did this study and come to find out by just gardening, 30% less suffering from heart attack or stroke, folks. How many of you folks out there have lost someone that you care for due to a heart attack or a stroke? Just imagine if they might have incorporated gardening into their lives, it would have gave them a greater possibility that 30% that could have either got them to live a little bit longer or actually, prevented that heart attack or stroke. And there's reasons behind that, because gardening builds strength. It also promotes sleep. It helps you maintain a healthy weight. And by what I mean by that is you're out there, you're burning calories, right? You're working your hands, you're getting dexterity in your hands and fingers. A lot of older folks, they get really that arthritis and stuff like that, and it creates issues. But when you're out there in the gardening, you're working these muscles. You're lifting things, you're moving pots of soil, bags of soil, fertilizer. You're just moving. You're out in the sun, you're sweating. It's a form of exercise. So you're burning calories. What's up, Hawkeye? Good to see you as well. Rita, good to see you. Basically, it uses, from everything that I've read, working in the garden works almost every muscle group, because you're bending over, you're squatting down, you're doing this, you're lifting, you're pulling, you're cutting, you're doing so much stuff. It's like an all body workout, So if some folks can't say, well, I can't get to the gym, you know what I mean? And maybe they go for walks and stuff like that. But look, working in your garden, especially if you're a daily gardener, you go out there, let's say early in the morning or late in the evening, whenever you happen to do it, you're working all your muscle groups, or a majority of them. Also, like I said, the digging, the planting, and the pulling does more than just produce plants. Gardening will also increase your hand strength, like I was saying, with your dexterity. And I'm just kind of referring back to my notes so I don't lose track of where I'm going with this, right? Also, it says working in the garden may help offset both age-related weight gain and childhood obesity. So as you can see, this is not only beneficial to the children, it's beneficial to you as adults. I have found my inner peace with my garden, folks. And I know I might seem overly passionate about what I'm talking about right now, but it really means a lot to me that I'm sharing my passion for gardening with you folks here on my channel, and some of this information that some of you folks may or may not be aware of, and how truly beneficial it is. And I don't mean just like having a homestead with this massive garden. I mean, it's a big undertaking, right? But even having a windowsill garden, a herb garden, or a garden from the inside, what I mean by that is under grow lights, any type of garden that you can get into is just going to start, getting you in tune to creating your own food, and building relationships with your family that you have involved into that. It also says people who garden are more likely to get a solid 7 hours of sleep. So if you have sleep issues, being out in the garden, of course, is going to wear you out. The sun is beaming down. And that being said, if you go out in the garden, folks, wear the proper attire. Make sure you're wearing enough, sun protection or anything like that you need. That if you're very susceptible to the heat, make sure you're hydrated and stuff like that. I don't want you to just run out there in the Florida sun, if you're in my area, and let the heat beat you down. You know what I mean? I've gotten even lightheaded myself because I forgot to hydrate too much the night before. And that's a key factor, folks, in regards to hydration. If you're going to go on a long hike, if you're going to spend a lot of time in the garden, it's very hot out and the sun's beating down on you, you need to hydrate the night and day before. Some people think that, I'm going to go in the garden, I'm going to go on a hike, and they're going to drink a bunch of water right then, there, and now. Well, it takes a little process for your body to absorb that water into its system. So what you want to truly do is hydrate the day before. So if you're planning a long walk or a long hike and it's going to be hot out there, please do me a favor. I don't want to see anybody ever get, a heat stroke or something like that. Hydrate the day before, or just in general, stay hydrated. Drink lots of water. Whoops, that's my alarm there telling me to stay on task, right? And if anybody I missed that I didn't say hello to that's come in the chat, thank you for being here. I truly appreciate that. What else do we got for you? And I thought about putting up some slides and some things like that, but I figure I'll just read some of this material that I have for you folks other than trying to bounce between the slides and stuff like that. So that maybe after I get through this, because I have about 10 things that I wanted to go over with you folks in regards to this gardening topic, and what gardening can do for you outside of just, the food aspect. I figured I have time to answer some questions, going to go over some Q&A and see what's on your mind, and also fall back to the fall garden question that I had proposed to a lot of you folks on the previous video on Monday. Anyways, moving on, it says a 2006 study found that gardening could lower risk of dementia by 36%. This is going back to what I just mentioned earlier, that gardening helps protect your memory. So a study, they've looked at people that suffer from things like dementia, right? And by gardening, it literally can help you lower that risk of dementia by 36%, folks. These are huge facts for me. Lower cardiovascular disease from the aspect of having a heart attack or a stroke, and also helping you retain your memory and not getting into dementia. It's not a cure-all and save-all, but to me, this is very important statistics in regards to just gardening. A lot of folks just garden just to grow food because, we're preppers and that's who we are. We're homesteaders, survivalists, whatever you want to label us as. That's the type of folks that we are. But there's truly some benefits to this information. Gardening in general is a mood booster. It brings that serotonin into your brain. Also, the sun is a positive and negative thing. The sun, of course, you need the sun. The sun has to, the plants need the sun to grow. But also the vitamin D that your body absorbs. Your biggest organ is your skin. And the best way to get vitamin D out of taking, a lot of us talk about taking vitamin D3 capsules, and sure, that's all great, but your body rather absorb it naturally. And the best way to get that vitamin D is through the sun. And your biggest organ is your skin. So as the sun, absorbs that vitamin D through your skin, it's bringing those health benefits to you. So you're getting your daily dose of vitamin D, especially if you're lacking it. And the older we get, a lot of us, are afraid of the sun. Some people, they put long sleeves on, they cover their entire body because they don't want to get a sunburn. But once you get used to the sun, after a while, your body gets accustomed to that. And also, like I said, you get that vitamin D, which is truly a beneficial not I want to say side effect, but a benefit from the sun. Big Bear Prepper says, so garden is both mental and physical, but worth every bit of it. 100%, Big Bear Prepper, 100%. Rocka, I can understand that. If you're susceptible to something like skin cancer, I can understand your situation there. But maybe you could think about doing some indoor growing. You know what I mean? Set something up with some artificial lighting or something like that. Or do some herb gardening growing on, let's say, a windowsill, but still involve your children, your family, your friends, grandparents, grandkids, whoever that you associate yourself with. There's still a reason to garden because some folks out there are susceptible to skin cancers and other things that can't be out in the sun. And I understand that. But I don't want to leave you out of this whole scenario because there's other ways to garden outside of just being in direct sun. Some people also use different types of shade cloths and things like that to protect them where the plants still get enough sun, but it protects them from some of them harmful UV rays out there. Anyways, so getting dirt under your nails, while digging in the ground can make you pretty happy. And what it means by that is, what is that mood boosting bacterium? So what it's called is called Mycobacterium vaccae. VACCAE. That's the scientific term for this bacterium that's in the soil that you're breathing in. And some people are like, well, I'm breathing something in. Yeah, when you're getting your hands dirty, you're breathing in little different particles and stuff like that. That's how we bolster our immune systems naturally, outside of trying to give yourself a bunch of these things and stuff like that. So it's called Mycobacterium vaccae, and maybe I might be saying it wrong. I try to listen to the pronunciation, and depending if you're in the UK or if in the US, there's two different ways to pronounce that word. But it's a healthy bacteria that lives in the soil. It can increase levels of serotonin and reduce anxiety. So I think that's truly a great thing about dirt in general. Remember when we used to let our kids go out there and you let them play in the dirt, and it just seems like they were a bit more healthier. This day, a lot of people keep their kids inside. They keep them in the basement. They keep them, like I said, in front of TVs. They're scared to let them outside because there's violence and there's all kinds of things going on in the world. They're worried about, someone stealing their child and stuff like that. But when we were kids, we would go out, we'd build forts, we dug in the dirt. We had fun with mom, we had fun with dad, we had fun with our friends. And it seems a lot of us had a bit easier time growing up than the kids these days now. Some kids they're so stuck inside, they have a depressive disorder, being that they probably don't get any vitamin D. They probably don't get their hands dirty or breathe in some of these beneficial bacterium that's in the soil, or the vitamin D coming from the sun. Let me see where I left off here. I'm trying to jump back and chat. What's up, Oki Khan? Good to see you. Sorry, once I get started on these spiels and whatnot, I like to keep the momentum going. You know what I mean? Allison Sherman says kids are gaming too. Outdoor kids have better immune systems. 100%, Allison. You're absolutely right. Akita Love says my garden also boosts my protein. Ingested a few bugs this year, of course, not intentionally. I understand that, Akita. I've been there myself. What's up, Jack? Good to see you as well. Hodge 1455. Good to see you as well. Thank you all for joining us. Researching having a tomato garden next year, slowly adding garden items needed, supports extra. And Julie, that's, if you're just putting in your first plant, folks, the garden bug will bite you, because once you go through that whole process and you first start growing things, a lot of people start with tomatoes, and it's just because that's what most people hear, you know what I mean? But you can do other things that are also fun. You can plant companion plants with your tomatoes. Like let's say you want to plant some basil. So not only do you have the tomato, but you also have some herbs to grow with it, and it's also a great companion plant to grow with your tomatoes. Outside of, let's say, dill. And there's a few other things. Some people like to use flowers. What's that yellow flower called? It's at the tip of my tongue, but it's gone now. I'm pretty sure someone will throw it in the chat. Thank you, Pony Girl. I appreciate that. And that shows that I'm only human, right, Pony Girl? Drops Family Garden says, don't plant different tomatoes next to each other. If they're heirlooms, you expect to save the seeds. Yes. So Drop is actually absolutely right, because they will cross-pollinate. So depending on what you got going on, I've made this mistake. This is only my second year of gardening. I've learned a lot from you, my viewers. Marigolds, there we go. Prepping Survival, B. Walker, Linda Bob, Sherry Chapman, and Lucy Marion. Thank you all. Marigolds are actually all right. And Linda Bob, dandelions can work as well. And dandelions, folks, dandelions is a powerhouse, man. If you can grow some dandelions, it's the perfect plant to grow. So many medicinal benefits, from the root to the leaves to the flowers. There's so much you can do with dandelions. I did a video about it a long time ago. I probably should do an updated video of that. God, I love dandelions. Hawkeye, yes, sunflowers. I had some flowers next to my tomato plants this year. Some of you folks who watch. Matter of fact, if you care to, you can check out my garden videos. I have a playlist down on my in my video on my channel that says gardening videos from some when I first started. You can see some of the mistakes I made, how I went from this to that, some of the things that I've learned, and how to deal with bugs and fertilizers and soil amendments. There's a lot to learn, but it's fun. It's fun learning that. Anyways, another thing is, let's say if you're someone that lives by yourself, right? And you're like, well, great, I don't have grandkids. I don't have a son or a daughter. I don't have any family left. I know some of you folks out there are you feel like you're alone out there. Now, what I would suggest, and this is just a suggestion, it's totally up to you, but see if anybody in your neighborhood maybe wants to start a community garden. Something that everybody can get their hands into. Let's say you live in a trailer park, right? And you're hanging out with the ladies or the fellas or whoever it is, or a mixture of people, and you guys are sitting out there chit-chatting and whatnot. Say, hey guys, why don't we start a little community garden? Let's grow some, start growing some tomatoes, or let's grow some garlic or some onions or whatever that you can think of that grows well in your zone. So that way that you're incorporating your neighbors and whatnot, or your community, into this gardening, and it'll kind of bring a little bit of happiness to all the folks in the neighborhood. And it'll also start conversations about, maybe emergency preparedness and prepping for things like, the way the food cost is skyrocketing, or food shortages, and so on and so forth. It's a way of reaching out to some folks out there. And hold on, I saw something come on chat. I'm going to pause that before I don't lose my train of thought. But building that community with some of your neighbors might be an option for you folks out there that live alone. Linda Bob says, there is a joke my husband always asks people, do you know where I can get Any dandelion seeds. Yeah, right. That is a kind of a joke. Dandelion seeds are, God, they are everywhere. I remember in Michigan, we in Michigan, when I lived in Michigan, that the yard would be covered in dandelions. The wind would blow, dandelions, the seeds would move everywhere, and we would have dandelions everywhere. I did not know the medicinal benefits of dandelions at that point. I didn't know you could make coffee out of the roots dandelion. I didn't know you can make dandelion wine. Of course, probably because I was only 13 or 14 years old. So my mom probably wouldn't tell me about the dandelion wine, but dandelion jam, and the list goes on. Salads. There's just so many benefits to the dandelion plant. What's up, Mo Prepper? And Yarn's actually right, Mo. Yarn's actually right. The nitrogen inside of your urine actually can work very well. Some people will put it in the plants. If you watch movies, some people directly put, they'll urinate on their plants and stuff like that, but you want to go towards the soil or a compost bin and whatnot. Anyways, I already talked to the exposure about vitamin D. And what vitamin D does is it also increases your calcium levels, which benefits your bone and your immune system. A lot of us look at vitamin D as just for your immune system, but it's also beneficial to your bones. Are you 60, 65? Are you experiencing osteoporosis and stuff like that? Do you see how the sun can be very beneficial? And if you can't, like I said, you can always still take the vitamin D supplements that'll truly benefit you. But again, back to what I was saying about the community gardening and family gardening can also combat loneliness. You know what I mean? Some people feel that self-sensation of just being alone. And that's why, a lot of the times at the end of my live streams, I'll tell you, you are not alone, because you have this community here. This community is about trying to build positivity, about sharing information, not just for me, but from one another. Like on that garden video that I did, I was reading all your guys' comments and then you started interacting with each other. I love that when you other folks read those comments and you see what someone wrote and you wanted to add some more to that, some substance to that conversation. I love when you guys get into the conversations in the chat down in the comment section. I really enjoy reading those. And I do follow it. I do spend some time at work. I'll pull up the videos that I've done throughout the week, and I'll look through the comments and read some of them, try to catch up if any that I missed and didn't get to heart, or, kind of read through them. And I really enjoy that. Where am I at? So gardening can save you money. Some folks don't feel that gardening can save you money because when you first start up, you got to get the plants, you got to get the seeds, you got to get the fertilizer, you got to get, all these different things and stuff like that. It can seem like it costs you a lot of money, but over the years, and so as you get accustomed to gardening by saving the seeds after some of the plants you grow. If let's say I've let my basil grow to flower, I've let my purple hall peas, I've ate most of them, and then I'll save some of my purple hall peas and use them for the next year's garden. So basically it's almost like a perpetual cycle at that point. And also if you're using the seeds that you grew from the year before, those seeds start to become accustomed to your environment and to your schedule per se. Okay, well, last year I didn't get watered, but only every 3 days. Also, it was very hot out last year, so the plant kind of starts to build that in its DNA. So each seed or each generation of seeds that you pull from that plant become more in tune to your environment and usually starts to grow better. It starts to produce better over time. What's up, Jan? Good to see you. Yes, Mo Prepper, exactly, and they grow better. Where am I at? And also, when it comes to the children, gardening teaches responsibility. And what I mean by responsibility is that if you're teaching, let's say you have your kids out there, it teaches them that, hey, this is a tomato plant. It's on a specific schedule. It likes to be watered on a certain, you want to put so much water to it. There's like a whole schedule to a plant, right? Depending if what plant that you have. So it kind of teaches you this responsibility, like, oh, it is 7 o'clock. It's watering time for the plants. It's a fertilizer schedule. Hey, mom, hey, dad, it's time to do the fertilizer. It's been so long and we got to fertilize the beans or the sweet potatoes or whatever. So it brings that sense of responsibility with the children. Like I said, it's a learning thing, mental, physical. There's so much to gardening. It's just, I personally love it, folks. And then after that, gardening in general can actually make you eat healthier because here's the big thing. And one day at a time, hello, Florida man. Hey, I'm glad you made it, man. Better late than never. I saw you in the beginning, so it's cool. I appreciate your time, man, and for hanging out with us. What's up, Sherry? But where was I at? Can help you eat more healthy. So when you go to the store, folks, and you buy tomatoes, you buy peppers, you buy whatever that you happen to buy. If you buy store-bought vegetables and fruits and stuff like that, most of them are imported from other countries. Most of them are from commercial grows. So you have no idea the GMOs that are inside these things, the fertilizer, the pesticides, everything that was used with these plants. And if you look at the research behind a lot of this stuff like that, it's known to cause all different types of issues with you in your body, from cancers to illnesses to all these different things that could possibly happen to you. So when you grow your own food and you realize that you do it organically, or you try to do the best you can organically, you're eating healthier. You know what I mean? So you're saving money, you're eating healthier, and it's beneficial to the mind, to your children, to the family. Do you see where I'm going with this? How beneficial gardening can be from the small scale to the large scale, folks. Where am I at? See, gardening can help you learn new skills. Oh, this is going to be kind of like my number 10 thing that I have on my list here. Right on, Allison. Today, my 4-year-old looks at the peppers and says, "Mom, these are dry. We need to water them." Amazing to watch the growth and knowledge of each gardening season. That is awesome, Shawnee. That is really, really, really cool. That is very good to hear. What's up, Dobby Farrar? Good to see you, man. Appreciate you joining us. Maybe you've been here, I just didn't see you, but I just saw you now. Short Bus Mooner, good to see you as well. And anybody else I missed, thank you for joining us and hanging out with us this evening. I think we're about a half hour in, and I'm pretty sure a lot of folks will catch us on the replay. Some folks are busy at 7 o'clock. Some people are having dinner. Some people are on the West Coast, and it's too early that you're still at work. So thank you all for catching the replay that you do. I do appreciate all your views and your thumbs up as well. What's up, Jennifer Cruz? How are you doing? Anyways, so what I mean by help you learn new skills. So when you started gardening, I kind of touched on this a little earlier, but we're going to kind of break it down a little bit more, because I kind of came up with some skills that you learn while gardening that can be beneficial to you moving forward with your garden. Also, the skills that you teach your little ones and your family members. Minuteman 69, you've missed me with every bullet so far. Well, I got you this time, brother. I got you this time. My apologies. So you learn skills like soil analysis, right? You try to understand the science behind soil. You know what I mean? If you live in Florida, we deal with sand. If you live, let's say, in Georgia and other places, you might deal with clay. If you live in Michigan, where the soil is awesome, you might deal with that great soil. But learning soil analysis, what soil works best, because some plants like low acidic soil, some plants like high acidic soil. Sometimes there's a happy medium between those soils. But so understanding soil analysis was one of these skills that you will learn. Also, I think Yarn mentioned it earlier, composting and fertilizing. You know what I mean? A lot of people throw things away in the trash. They forget about it. But there's so much that you can reuse when it comes to compost and fertilizing. So if you have a composter, matter of fact, I think here next month or so, I had this composter that was sent to me by a company that I'm going to review. And it's kind of a barrel type of composter that you can kind of spin to mix it up and whatnot. It has two sides, so that one you got going hot and one that you're building on, if you know what hot composting is and whatnot. But throwing all your kitchen scraps, your eggshells, your banana peels and stuff like that. And there's a process. Some people say they don't want to, throw certain things in there. To each his own, you know what I mean? Learn what works best for you. Coffee grounds and stuff like that. And of course, there'll be people out there, no, you don't want to add coffee to your plants. And then there's videos about people that use all different types of coffee grounds for their plants, but know how to use those coffee grounds, make sure that they're kind of used. They could be acidic. They can change your soil alkalinity and whatnot. But you got to get what I'm saying. But composting, you get to take some of your scraps, your dinner table scraps, and a bunch of other things like that, and build this compost pile and start using that to amend your soil, so that you don't have to, every year, you don't have to keep on buying soil. You don't have to keep on buying compost from, let's say, Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever you happen to find it at. You're building your own compost and saving that for your garden each year. And then some of the soil that you've used, you re-amend that with fertilizer and compost and everything that you're going to do with that. So it's kind of like it's a loop system. You know what I mean? You're kind of all right, this soil is spent. There's no nutrients in there, so you're going to re-amend that soil. You're going to add more nutrients in there, and maybe you grew tomatoes in there. So this time you're going to grow beans in there, and understanding why you would grow beans in the soil that you use for your tomatoes, and growing tomatoes in the soil that you use for your beans. So learning that is also another skill. Where are we at? Watering. Some plants love water. Some plants don't want to be watered as much. Some plants you just water maybe once a week, even if it's hot and dry out. So learning how these plants prefer their drinking schedule. Me, I love lots of water, but other plants don't. I've noticed that when I used to grow my rosemary plant likes a little bit of water, but she doesn't like a lot of water. When she gets too much water, she starts to get a little bit of brown down there at the edges. So she likes to be watered once a week. Now the tomatoes are kind of depending on the heat and my environment and your environment as well. My tomatoes were like at least every other day, especially this year. But the heat in general just wouldn't let the tomatoes grow. Moving on, when we move to the new house, I'm going to be working on drip irrigation and also raised beds. I'm still going to be doing grow bags, but not as many. I'm going to be doing some raised beds, and I'm going to be building out drip irrigation. Of course, I will be taking all of you along on that ride. The first thing that we got to do is build a fence. I'm pretty sure my neighbors don't want to stare at my garden and all my plants. So we have to, once we get to sign the paperwork and do the final walkthrough and do all that stuff like that here in the next couple of weeks, I have to get the people to build a fence so that I can start building my garden. It's all a process, folks, and it probably won't go as smooth as I expect it to go. Nothing ever goes as smooth as you want it to, but it will get done. Where are we at on the skills thing? Seed starting, seed saving. You know what I mean? It's kind of a couple of different things there. You know, how to start your seeds. You know, some seeds like to be extremely moist. Some seeds don't. You know, you might want to use cinnamon on your seedlings and stuff like that when you're doing some seed starting to make sure that they don't get any type of what's it called, mildew or mold and stuff like that. Cinnamon works in so many beneficial ways in the garden, from kicking back that mold or whatnot, things that can grow. Also, it deters several types of insects as well. Ants don't even like cinnamon very much. And you can sprinkle that around your garden, but also when you put seeds in there, especially if you're growing them indoors and there's a little bit of moisture and whatnot, it helps kick back that issue. Grateful to be. Good to see you. And cinnamon. Yeah, cinnamon is one of my, I had cinnamon in so many different things, from my coffees to my teas to in the garden. I have big, huge tubs of ground cinnamon for so many different things. Linda Bob says, I've noticed that plants in buckets or planters need watered more often than plants directly in the ground. So Linda, yeah, so here's the big thing. There's some pros and cons to growing things in a raised bed garden or planting things in the ground. If you're going to be planting things in the ground, you really have to focus in on your soil, but the roots can kind of go wherever they want. The roots can kind of, oh, there's water over here, so I'm going to go try to get some more water. So think about this. If you have a cup like this and you put a plant and this has water in it, after the water dissipates, there's no more water ever coming inside of this thing unless it rains and gets water in here. So it's restricted to the amount of soil that it has and the water that it has. Once that water is gone, it goes dry, and then the roots start to struggle. In the ground, there's usually, they find a way, the roots will start pushing down or finding ways to get more moisture, plus there's more surface area for them to kind of explore. So with grow bags works great in the aspect that the water doesn't stay stagnant pretty much. You know what I mean? Some of the pots that don't have proper drainage, you get root rots and stuff like that. So it has really good drainage, but in a hot environment like Florida, some of the main issues is that you have to water often because it dries out very quickly. What else did I want to say about the stuff like that? So depending on how you're growing, if it's raised beds and you have a raised bed that's kind of going into the ground, or if it's just a raised bed that's independent that you have soil in there, there's so many different things. I've seen people who do raised beds and they add soil and then leave the bottom open. Some people use cardboard, some people use the weed block. There's so many different things that people use for this. Everybody gardens differently, and that's what's great about gardening, is everybody has a perspective or a idea on what works best for them. Like I said, I'm in zone 9B. For what works for me might not work for someone in Washington State or Wisconsin. It's going to be totally different. I think when I was talking to Yarn, or in her comment, and some of the other folks out there say, I won't have a fall garden because it's going to be a really bad winter, and we've already expecting frost coming here in the next month. So they're not even going to start. Some people may be growing indoors or overwintering some of their plants, but anyways, I got a little sidetracked with the whole watering thing, but you're absolutely right. So everything has pros and cons when it comes to gardening. Maybe that gives you some ideas in regards to what you keep your plant in and your watering schedules and stuff like that. So someone says monster ants. Florida has huge ants. Do you guys think that weather pattern is altering or changing? Do you guys think the weather? So Quickney, it's not it's changing. The weather patterns are always changing. You heard of the solar minimum, the solar maximum. The Earth goes through changes, right? The Earth has weather patterns. Remember, we've had an ice age. You know what I mean? And then we have everything melt back. I don't want to say if it's a sun age, but things happen. The water levels go up, water levels go down. The oceans heat up, the oceans cool down. It's the way our planet works. There's a cycle to things. It could be a cycle of every 1,000 years, every 20,000 years, every 15,000 years. I'm not an expert, but the sun goes through things. So the cycle that we're in now, we're expected. I don't know. Some of you folks have probably heard of La Nina and La Nina. That's another situation that drives weather. So that drives colder climates. If you look at the Farmer's Almanac, which has been tracking weather for quite some time, this is how I've kind of got it in inclination that you folks up north, or specifically the central from northern Texas all the way up to the top to where Canada is going to be dealing with some really bad weather in regards to a cold winter. Because the Farmer Almanac is usually pretty spot on. They're not exactly 100%, but they usually have a good foresight of what's going to come. And this year's Farmer's Almanac is saying that it's going to be a really bad winter and a very cold winter. But it's just a process. I don't believe in the whole, yes, I see there's pollution and there's all these other things that happen in the world. But there's still the just like the sun goes through cycles and our universe goes through cycles, the earth is going to go through cycles. It's just part of nature and the way things work. So yes, there's probably some severe weather, but is it due to because we have gas powered vehicles? That's a tough one for me. I just don't really buy into that. But that's just my personal opinion, folks. I don't want to get too political on you guys, or it's not even a political thought, but you know what I mean? It's just science for me. You know what I mean? When you look into the logistics of it. To kind of, I want to see, where was I at in regards to the skills? Propagating and pollination. I don't know how to send a link. Found something you might be interested in the total Pope Francis instructs Vatican tell us to move funds to the Vatican Bank. Isabel. So go down in my description. If you're not a moderator, you can't drop links here in the chat. But if you want to send me an email with that link so that I can read that material, you can go ahead and email me at GreyManPrepping@gmail.com. All my links are down below in the description. My other social media platforms and ways to contact me, be it if you want to send me a postcard or send me an email. All that kind of stuff will be down below in the description. Where are we at? So pollinating and propagating plants. Some things are self-propagating. So like banana plants. Some of you folks can't grow banana plants because you are not in a tropical or a subtropical climate. But banana plants are kind of self-propagating, right? As well as many other plants out there. For instance, strawberries, they like to self-propagate themselves as well as what do you got? If you let your sweet potatoes, they will kind of propagate out. You know what I mean? They'll kind of draw roots and keep on growing. I don't want to say draws another plant, but yes, it kind of propagates itself. Other plants you need to, physically, propagate and whatnot to make them do what they're supposed to do. Now with the strawberries, most people will cut the, what are they called? The runners and whatnot, cut them and move them and put them in a new plant. But basically, which is really cool because you pay for one plant and then you get multiple plants off that. So I think that's really neat in regards to propagating. Now moving on to pollination. Pollination. I don't know why that word's troubling me. Yeah, JT, there's all kinds of weird stuff in the news. Jessica Garcia says, like I say, buy 2 banana plants, get 20. Exactly, Jessica. But when it comes to pollinating, one thing I lacked on when I first started my garden was not putting certain plants out there that attract bees. Over my research and stuff like that, I found bees kind of see in an infrared. And what I mean by that is bees like purple, reddish, those type of plants. So they're more attracted to like let's say the purple coneflower plant, which is an echinacea, which is a medicinal plant, a very awesome medicinal plant. I'm not saying don't plant yellow and orange and all the other different flowers, but purple seems to be one of bees' favorite plants or color of plants that they like to pollinate. But also you can have so many other plants. But what you want to do is when you build a garden, you want to make sure that you have enough room or space, or you want to add those plants in there to draw in the beneficial insects. Bees are one of those insects that work very well in the garden, but also having certain plants in your garden that draw in the good insects to kind of battle the bad insects, for like aphids, stink bugs, hornworms, and the list goes on. Things that can destroy or decimate a garden. Some people will, like, you saw the video that I did where I used ladybugs to defeat the aphids, and it worked very well without using any type of chemical agent to kind of mix into my soil or my plants. Also, some people use praying mantises. You know what I mean? There's all different types of beneficial bugs out there. Here in Florida, we have lots of lizards, and the lizards like to eat the bugs. We have spiders, things like that. Whenever I see ants, I've learned that ants are kind of an enemy. Some people say ants are very beneficial because they can kind of be like bees and get into the pollen and kind of spread it around. But usually when you see ants, it's almost certain that you're going to see aphids down the road. Not every single time, but I notice every time I see a huge ants and they're running up thing, and all of a sudden you start looking around and they have little aphids and they're kind of spreading that gooey stuff around, and then it turns into a major issue. So I usually try to do anything I can to kind of stop the ants, because then it stops that cycle. Because if I can stop the ants, then I can stop the aphids, or at least have a better handling of that situation. Flow hive, love it. Let me see here. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Wow, I have tons of lizards. Jessica, yeah, they're all over the place. The lizards I have usually hang out on my blackberry plant, on my elderberry, and on the pepper plants. They always congregate in those areas for some reason. They love hanging out in those areas. Mo Pepper says ants are horrible. I agree. They're just a nuisance, for me, at least the way I look at it. At least the ants that I've dealt with. I understand they're part of the life cycle of certain things and they break things down and all that stuff like that. But if anybody has ever dealt with fire ants, will not ever really care for ants ever again. Where are we at? Harvesting and pruning. Knowing when to harvest. That's why there's so many gardening channels out there, because some people say, okay, well, I'm going to grow these sweet potatoes. How long do I need to wait for those sweet potatoes to grow? So, how do I harvest it? Do I prune the plants? Well, if you want to, I'm going to focus in on sweet potatoes because it's what I'm familiar with. But if you prune a sweet potato plant, I'll take the yellow leaves off and throw them in the composter. But if I'm going to prune it, I'm really going to cut, the whatchamacallits off it to grow more sweet potatoes. I'm going to call it a whatchamacallit because you know how my brain gets too focused on other things. But you guys get what I'm saying. In regards to sweet potatoes, they can take anywhere from 90 to 120 days to harvest. Well, some people say, well, is it 90 or is it 120? Well, that depends on the heat. You know what I mean? How hot it's been. So every once in a while, you kind of want to do a test. After about 95 days, I kind of look in the ground and see where the sweet potatoes at. I like to let them sit there a little bit longer, roughly about 120 days, maybe even a little bit longer than that, because usually the sweet potatoes get a lot bigger. And a lot of you folks have been following me doing this whole 50-gallon grow bag with the sweet potatoes. When that harvest comes to play, we'll see how well a 50-gallon grow bag does with sweet potatoes. Some people use 5-gallon buckets. Some people use kiddie pools. For the sweet potatoes, I decided to use a 50-gallon grow bag for two reasons. One, I don't have to water as much, coming back to the question earlier about water, because there's so much soil in that bag. And it's also deep enough and roomy enough to get lots of sweet potatoes. And you guys see, I just took those slips. I took 4 slips, folks, 4 little slips off what I call a mother plant of another sweet potato plant that I had, stuck them in the ground. And if you see my last video, the sweet potatoes are doing phenomenal. They're growing everywhere per se, right? But we'll see with the harvest. We'll see the actual my results when it comes time to harvest those. But learning your harvest dates, learning what to prune, not to prune. I don't know if you guys ever heard of cropping and super cropping and certain things that you can do. So let's say we'll look at pepper plants. So if you're going to put some peppers in the ground, let's say some bell peppers, some greens, some yellow peppers, some banana peppers, whatever you happen to do, and you put that plant, and it's only about 12 inches high, maybe 14 inches high, and you see a flower. You might want to take that flower and get rid of it. If you see a pepper growing, I know it sounds crazy, but you want to take that pepper and stop it, because you want the plant to focus in on growing. You want it to get taller, bigger, and bushier before you start seeing fruit on that plant, because once it starts to produce a pepper or fruit or whatever you want to call it, it starts to pour all of its energy into that versus producing, a more robust root system, a more larger framework. So basically, when you first start seeing peppers or something like that, you might want to prune those off to let the plant focus energy in growing and establishing itself versus, hey, I got some peppers. Because you keep on doing that for quite some time, you'll notice that your plant gets huge and you'll get a better yield out of, let's say, your peppers, and the list goes on, in regards to other plants that this relates to. And the last is managing pest and disease, which we kind of touched on. Some people use diatomaceous earth, and some people will use all different types of things. Last year I used 7 dust. A lot of people said, Grey, that's really not good. That's not organic, Grey. And I learned, yep, you're absolutely right. It wasn't organic. And it didn't work as good as I thought it would be. But if you're going to use neem oil, a lot of people talk about neem oil. Neem oil works great, but you need to get real neem oil. There's a lot of fake neem oil out there, and different types of neem per se. So you really need to understand what neem oil is, do some deep research on that, and understand that skill set of learning ways to fight pest and disease. You know what I mean? So like I used cinnamon earlier to kind of kick back mold, right? And you'll see that on certain squash plants, stuff like that. You'll see watermelons. Sometimes the leaves will get this discolorization, that white mold, that powdery substance on there. Cucumbers will do it as well. Certain plants will get that. But for bugs and stuff, to go back to that, we're looking at stuff like neem oil. Some people will take a little bit of Dawn dish soap and some water. You don't want to go. Some people will use I think, is it Burt's dish? There's a company out there that does a really good soapy kind of water mix. And you can buy it, but you can do it yourself. You honestly can. My wife actually used a little bit of ground up some ground pepper and whatnot, and mix that with a little bit of dish soap to kind of get rid of some of the other aphids or these little green worms. I forget the name of them, army worms, or she calls them. But there's a lot of things that you can do naturally to prevent, infestations of certain bugs or to prevent bugs. Other bugs, it can be tough. Let's say like the dreaded hornworm, the one that will decimate your tomato plants within, 24 hours. It'll eat half your plant before you even notice it's there. So at night, what you can do is, you guys ever seen those black lights, those UV black lights? You can buy these really cheap UV black lights and go out at night and go to your garden. And if you use this black light, these hornworms will just glow. They'll be like a bright green. You're like, there's that hornworm, and catch them before they try to do too much damage. You can see a lot of different types of bugs with this UV light. I was surprised. Someone taught me this just this year. They said, hey, use a UV light, or it's like a black light. And you can easily find these hornworms hiding in your foliage. I thought that was a great tip, and so I bought me a little thing, and I take it out there. It's like a little LED kind of thing, and I go out there and I check the plants. I've even found certain types of eggs hidden on some of my leaves using a black light. But pretty cool stuff. So buying a black light, Mo Prepper, exactly. If you're dealing with bugs like that, like I said, it's a really cool way. And folks, you don't really have to take my word for some of this stuff. I always employ you to go, if you take notes, or if you happen to digest some of the information that I'm providing to you, you can take it a step further. Go to Google, or go to a different platform, or go to wherever that you might draw information at. Look in some books, but some of this stuff is the material that I've read or learned from either people here locally, some of my viewers. Like I said, it's a very welcoming and informative community that we've had here. Everybody has something to offer. You know what I mean? If you're a newbie and you just started prepping, or you just started gardening, you still have something to offer the community, because you might come across something that someone else may not have. And I would prefer that you share it or ask questions in regards to it, because maybe it's something that I might not be aware of, and I can do research. We can work together and figure out this problem together. That's why I always say you're not alone. All right, so that's the end of my spiel, which I timed it pretty right. We're at 53 minutes. Does anybody have any questions in regards to some of the material that I've been talking about before we get off this live stream? Marsh Mama, I really, really do appreciate that. That means a lot. It really does, because instead of, I've been thinking about moving forward with my channel, and all I want to do is help people. And if one person in this live stream learns something new that they didn't know before, I feel that I did the job that I came here to do. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. K. Paul says, do you have to freeze some seeds? K-Paul, I don't freeze seeds. Let me not say that. So my purple hall peas, right? I will put those in the freezer. I've done that. But most of my seeds, I do a lot of vacuum sealing, and I put them in my seed vault. And I'll label it, date them, what kind of seeds they are. I have kind of an organized thing. Maybe I need to do a video on that whole process, that a way I do my seeds, so that I know if they're heirloom, if they're hybrid, when did I get them, where did I get them. Some of my viewers have sent me seeds, so I kind of put a little notation on there, and I've been building this seed vault with a bunch of different types of seeds. Most of them are, like I said, some people just keep them in little, I have them over there. I'm not going to get up right now, but I have these little brown things that I keep seeds in. Cool, dark, dry place. You don't want moisture to get to them, because of course that would start the seed to want to grow. In most instances, if they get wet or whatnot, it'll start that process. So a nice, cool, dark, dry place is where I keep my seeds at. If you have a garage, it's not really cool, but some people do have air conditioning, but it's a lot cooler than it is outside, but it's at least dark. Some people use a hall closet. They'll put their seed vaults in there, or a pantry room, places like that. I'm probably going to have to do a video once we move to the new house and show you how I do my seeds and whatnot. That may help you folks, some of you folks out there who are new to, not want to say to prepping seeds and whatnot. But thank you, Paul, Paul, for that question. Let me back this up here. I learned a lot from you. I appreciate that, Linda. Thank you so much. Pure Blood, what is up? Let me see here. Backing up. Fluffy Otter, good to see you. I'm slowly backing up the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything here real quick, folks. And I don't see anything. Someone said the best mods. Thanks so much. Mo Prepper, I agree. You got Harvey, you got JT, you got Jan, you got Van City, you got Julie, which I think changed to Jasper's mom. I have I personally feel that I have some really great mods. They're very understanding. They try to work with most folks in regards to the rules, because we do try to keep it family friendly on here, folks. There's a lot of folks that watch this on the watch me or live stream that I'm doing on their TV. So I always employ, or my wife said I'm using that term wrong, but I'm always asking you folks to try to keep it as family friendly as possible, because some kids will watch, some parents bring their kids to watch Grey on the big screen, which I'm flattered, to be honest with you. Thanks, Wink. I appreciate that. Good to see you. Thank you, Pilgrim, as well. Dale says, I enjoy these gardening lives a lot. I appreciate that, Dale. What about Yarn Prepper? I did say Yarn Prepper, Deacon. And nice to see you again. Nice to see you again. Another reminder for all, Nutrient Survival Giveaway planned for every day in September. B. Walker, they reached out to me. I'm going to be talking about their giveaway. Maybe, I don't know if I should. Yeah, I'll just say it. I'm going to end up doing a live stream again with Nutrient Survival, with Becky and someone else, and we're going to we're probably going to give some stuff away. So if you see a live stream and you see Nutrient Survival in the title, you might want to join us for that live stream. Daisy, you take care. Good to see you. Matter of fact, we only got a couple more minutes left, but folks, I do want to remind you something. Where are me at? We're getting close to that 20,000 mark. Remember, folks, when Grey hits 20K, don't forget that I'm going to be giving away 16 silver eagles, or basically 1 pound. It's a little bit over a pound of silver. I always, every time I see we're getting closer and closer to that number, the channel is growing tremendously at a rapid rate, roughly about, I don't know, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 subscribers a month. So that's awesome. I really appreciate all the new folks that have joined us, all the new names and whatnot, all the new people that are commenting. I truly appreciate every one of your guys' support. But remember, folks, we're going to be giving away some stuff. I also have something big planned for December, but as December creeps upon us, I will start sharing that information. So stay tuned. Folks, I'm a very giving person. Anything that I get from the channel, I used to like to give back to the community, just because that's just the way. Yeah, right, Teresa D. Becky needs a day. B. Walker says, implore, I think is the right word you are wanting. Implore, and you're right, B. Walker. You and my wife should be buddies. Because she always corrects me on my grammar. She's like, employee. What are you trying to get employees or something on your channel? She's like, it's implore, babe. It's implore. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure someone will catch that. I appreciate that, Pony Girl. Thank you so much. Van Roo, I appreciate Van Roo. I know it's rough when you miss the live streams because of the fact that you don't get to as much interaction with this, but I always appreciate reading your comments. Let's try gardening. Good to see you as well. But folks, yeah, Becky does need a raise. So look forward to some things. September is Preparedness Month. I was talking to Harvey earlier. Folks, I'm going to try to put out a lot of content for the month of September. I'm not used to doing shorts, but I will try to put out some really short videos, maybe one a day for Preparedness Month. I don't want to guarantee that just because my job and I will be in the process of moving. So I'm going to be really, really busy. I wish I could put out 30 videos in 30 days for the month of September, but I might miss a few. So I do apologize in advance. I'd like to. I see a lot of other communities doing that. But it's just my life situation is very chaotic at the moment. Let me see here. But other than that, folks, I know you guys got places to be and things to do. I want to say thank you to all my mods here. Thank you guys for helping me keep this thing rolling, and appreciate you guys being here and keeping everything family friendly and interacting with the viewers as well. And you, my viewers, the subscribers, you, my community, thank you all for taking the time out of your evening and hanging out with us and listening to me ramble on about gardening and how passionate it is for me. Hopefully you learned something. And other than that, folks, be safe out there. Please be safe out there. And remember, you are not alone. This is GreyMan. I'm out. I will see you guys on the rebound. God bless.